right. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to everyone on LinkedIn Perspective here. It's been a while, but like anything else, it's great to be back. And what can be a better way to start than a good friend of mine that I've known for 15 years, right? We met here on LinkedIn, and I believe that this is going to be a very informative but very powerful segment of LinkedIn Perspective. If you like this segment of LinkedIn Perspective, share it, like it, tag it, and make your comments known. The telephone number is right there on the banner. Also, you can make your comments and share it. And without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my buddy, my mentor, and consider a big brother, Matt Parr. Go ahead, Matt, and please just say a little bit about yourself. I'm going to keep it straight to the point.
All right, Hyram. Well, thanks for having me on today. It's an honor. I always love talking to you. Enjoy your perspective and your leadership and your military bearing. I'm a medically retired Special Forces operator, a U.S. Army Ranger, and a Green Beret out of the Army. I served a long time ago. I served in the 1980s and up to the early 90s. Got hurt, left the military, and started a career in 1994 in health, wellness, and giving people ideas of alternative options in healthcare. And had a successful career in that. I was married, raised a couple of kids. My kids are now adults. It's been a ride. And a couple of years ago, I retired. About 5 years ago, I retired, and found out very quickly that I wasn't ready to retire, and decided that the next move for me would be something that I had been studying on the side for my own personal health, and that is stem cell therapy. It was early in the stem cell therapy. We were about 8 or 9 years into the industry and research and development. And over the last 7, 8 years, it's exploded globally. And that's what led to what we do now. And that's Assisted Global Vitality, which is a resource for people to find out the truth, find out, where are the best clinics, who's doing the best practices, who has the best quality product, how is this stuff harvested, what's the do's and the don'ts and the ins and the outs. And so, that's what we're here to discuss today. But I'm just glad to be here with you, Hyram. It's always an honor. I enjoy hanging out with you and Dave.
Well, look, I've learned a lot from you in the last 15 years, and a lot of people don't understand that using social media and this type of platform, LinkedIn Perspective, for LinkedIn Perspective on the podcast for professional people, a couple of things can happen, right? We can be able to develop a relationship, but the key thing of networking and streaming is important, especially today in today's society. But the biggest thing that I've learned from you this past year is about the stem cell research and how it's been able to be very paramount in today's society, especially for the people that prior military. We have prior military, we have fighters, we have first responders, we even have situations of people having some health challenges and even autism. So I would like for you to be able to, chime on this and how people can really look at it, because there's the last part is this. There's a couple of things that I've learned as far as stem cells. How is processed, how is it injected, how is it inhaled, how it affects the body parts. I'd like for you to elaborate that and share something so people can have a better understanding without violation of the HIPAA laws or violation of the medical things. We're not doctors, we're wellness people providing public service to the community. Go ahead, Matt.
Yep, absolutely. The first thing is I'm not a doctor, and our company is not. We're not a clinic. We do not do the infusions or the injections. We don't handle the stem cells. What we are is we're the first step of debunking the myths and the rumors, clearing up the truth, and giving people good, solid information. I do have a medical background. I was a trauma medic on a Special Forces A team in the military. I was an EMT. I was a paramedic. I was IV certified. I went to the Physicians Extender Branch Field Trauma Surgery School in the United States military. So I do have a medical background, but that was 30 years ago. And today's technology, what we decided to do was be the reference source, be the source of good information to people. Because when you go on the internet, it's a confusing mess. trying to figure out what's true, what's not, who's good, who's blowing smoke, who's telling the truth. It's like there's just so much misinformation in every aspect of life on the internet that sometimes it's hard to separate the BS from the apple butter and get to the good stuff. So let's talk about the therapies that are available today. 15 years ago, they were just starting to study stem cells. There was a few clinics around the world that were doing the research. There was a lot of controversy. There was a lot of spiritual influences, government influences, regulations, and a lot of that stuff has kind of gone away, but people still think it's there. That's the first problem. Just because, this ain't your grandma's cookie recipe. This is modern technology and medicine. And so it changed. And a lot of us were not aware of the changes because they happened so quickly that the people in the industry assumed that we were keeping up. And the truth is there's no way to keep up unless you're in it. So we formed a group of people to clear that up for the common everyday person out there who's looking for something to help them with an injury, an ailment, an illness. It could be something as inert as headaches, and it could be something as devastating as cancer, and everything in between. Mine was a back injury, a neck injury, a hip injury, TBIs, PTSD from my military service. And the first thing I did was, it's been almost 5 years ago, is I did an IV infusion, which is one of the most common ways to get stem cells. Stem cells are a blood product. They come from the blood supply. The way that they're harvested is through C-section births. No babies are harmed. Matter of fact, it's utilizing something that they normally used to throw away. After the birth, after the child is taken out in a C-section birth, they clamp the umbilical cord, remove the blood product from it, and then it's sent to a lab to be processed where they spin it and separate the different types of cells, plasma, debris, blood platelets. Everything that's in the blood is then separated by weight into separate tubes, and you end up with a tube of stem cells. And generally in one umbilical cord, there's enough stem cells to treat 3, 4, 5 adults, depending on their injury and their body mass of how many cells they need. IV is the best and the simplest way to do it, but there are numerous new technologies over the last 5 years that we're now injecting into what they call the interthecal space, the space along the sides of your spinal cord on the outside of the vertebrae where the nerves come out. People are getting tremendous and immediate results from that. They do that through ultrasound and imaging guided injections. It's done in a hospital setting in a OR suite, but it can give dramatic results, and it can be almost immediate. Whereas the IV, it takes a few hours for that to circulate all through the body and begin to set up and do some good. The interthecal injections along the spine can give immediate results. We're also seeing new technology here in the last couple of months where there's some new doctors in the industry that are using nebulizers. When you have asthma and they put a mask on you and you inhale the mist with the medicine in the air, that's a nebulizer, a cold vapor nebulizer. And we're seeing them being used with children with autism, children with brain issues and brain traumas, where we don't have to traumatize them by sticking needles in their veins. We can now just stick a mask on their face and tell them to breathe and make them giggle and laugh, and they take big breaths of it, and they're getting tremendous results in that way. And then the old faithful for people with knees, hips, elbows, shoulder tears, any kind of joint injury where it's whether it's a wrist or an elbow or shoulder, whatever, where they inject the stem cells actually right into the injury site, and they go to work replacing damaged cells. And that can be very dynamic also. So you have a lot of different things going on and available to us. One of the things that I hear a lot of is, hey, I talked to the doctor and he gave me all these choices and I don't know which one to do. And so having an advocate like AGV, like our company, is a valuable resource, and it costs the patient nothing to use our services. We're actually paid by the doctors to be that advocate, so that we're kind of like a person who can help the patient clear up and make their choices of what they want to do. And then the doctor doesn't have to hire staff to do that. We can do it for them. So that's why this all works. Yeah, go ahead, Hyram.
So no, I appreciate that you state the fact advocate, because in today's medical world, right, and I come from a medical background as well, people are pretty caught up with, hey, how are you going to interpret this? Is this going to be good for me? Or you're trying to give me something that I don't really need? We want to diminish all that, right? But you're keeping it very simple. And as well as the doctor, and tell me a little bit more about the doctor, because he's, from what you've shared with me, he's more of a public servant than anything else, and he's pretty much a subject matter expert, correct?
Well, the only doctors that we work with are doctors that have had long-term experience in the stem cell therapy area for obvious reasons. You want the best. And so we're constantly interviewing clinics, because one of the big trials of stem cell therapy is having to travel outside the country to get the highest quality doctor who's got the most experience in the industry with the highest quality cells that are harvested fresh, that are then utilized by a staff of people that really, that's all they do. And I don't know about you, but if I'm going to do anything that has to do with my health and my body, my longevity, my aging or anti-aging, my repair or replacement from injury, I want the best. And nobody wants to get the guy who graduated in the bottom of his class. Everybody wants a doctor who graduated in the top of his class. Unfortunately, they call them all doctor. And so sometimes it's a little hard to sort that out. I equate it to buying a horse. If you just go to the sale barn and you're bidding on nags for $600 or $700, that's what you're going to get. But if you go to a performance arena and you're bidding on 30, 40, 50,000 up to $1 million horses, then you're going to get a horse that has a lot more features, a lot more, a better health picture. And the same thing with doing stem cells is you're going to get what you pay for, but you don't have to pay all the way to the top either. So there's ways to mitigate some of the expense. And one of the things we're seeing now is more and more clinics opening around the country in the United States and in adjacent countries, Canada, Mexico, down in Panama, in U.S. territories, over in Europe. You're starting to see the expansion of this as the regulations relax. Why? 15 years of positive experiences for people, 15 years of positive results. It's pretty much almost unarguable that stem cells will have a positive impact on any kind of a disease state, injury state. It does slow the aging process. It's no longer a conversation of opinions. It's now a scientific research project.
And I like that, because here's the thing. You touched on something that's very important, right? You get what you pay for. I'll use an example. When I had to have my total hip replacement, I went to a sports medicine specialist. And they would say, hey, you go to the VA, we'll take care of you. I said, no, I'm not dealing with these guys that are just coming out of the, internship and messing around. Hey, we can play with this, play with that. Right. And I found more, very comfortable going to a doctor that's been practicing orthopedic surgeons for like 15 years, subject matter experts. It gave me the peace of mind. And even though I had a total hip replacement, I was at peace with it, right? So getting back to the stem cell, people don't realize that it gives you a better opportunity of quality of life. It can give you some form of longevity depending on how you live your life. It's, like you said, we're not medical doctors, you're not medical, but this is a proven fact in the last several years that it can help you sustain your life, providing that you invest in your life. A lot of people pay a lot of money for material things, but at the end of the day, you can't get your health back. And, you are a true testament of what you're saying. And you can expand to it real quick of how you've been able to jump back, and you shared with me offline. So if you care to share, that'd be great.
Yeah. Just before I do that, let me just throw this out. Is that, I don't want to paint stem cells as a silver bullet, a magic fairy dust, or something that's going to just, it's all going to go away. Yeah. The uses for stem cells can start with hey, if you have an injury that's so bad that it needs surgery and you've exhausted all other options and you're down to, hey, I'm going to have my shoulder repaired or my hip or whatever, stem cells can still be a useful tool for you, in that stem cells are the most anti-inflammatory thing known to man, more so than any drug. They remove inflammation from your body, and inflammation causes swelling, causes pain. The other thing they do is they bolster your immune system. It's one of the basic functions of stem cell therapy, is that your immune system is going to get stronger. Your circulatory system is going to get stronger. Your lymph system is going to work more efficiently. So you're going to be able to get fluids out and bad swelling and things like that. So what does it do for somebody who needs surgery? I would do stem cells before I ever did surgery ever again. I did this 5 years ago. I had a jaw injury from 30 years ago. I ate a tree limb under my jaw and broke my jaw. The bone started to atrophy after 30 years, the limited blood supply, and my body started to absorb it. And so my teeth got loose in the back of my mouth, and that was my first symptom. And I went and got an x-ray, and they go, oh my God, your jaw is like a pencil lead thick. We're going to have to go in, and we surgically remove the bone, put a cadaver bone in, and then did implants for my lower teeth so that I could eat. And that was almost 5 years ago. The genius of what I did before the surgery was I went and got a stem cell infusion, an IV infusion. I just did an average dose, but I healed so quickly that the surgeon and the orthodontic surgeon and the orthodontic implant specialist were like, we don't ever see anybody, especially your age, heal this fast. I'm going to be 70 years old in 16 months. Yeah. And, a lot of people go, well, how come you're so strong and you're so vital? And I go, I take care of myself. I do eat right. I do exercise. I live up in the mountains in Wyoming, so I breathe clean air. I drink good water. I eat freshly harvested beef from the ranches right here. Very few things that go in my mouth come from a store or a package. And I think that leads to health and longevity. Plus, I have good genes. My grandparents lived to be in their late 90s, two of them almost 100, one of them over 100. So I know I'm going to be here for another 30 or 40 years. I wanted to make sure I have quality of life. I don't want to be that guy sitting in a wheelchair, staring out the window of my nursing home, drooling on my shirt. That's not living. Living is, walking the hills, training a new dog, riding your horse, riding your motorcycle over the mountains, doing some fishing, enjoying life, hunting, having fun.
You talk about quality of life. In today's generation, with all the social media, people just focusing on the screen time, right? That takes away from the quality of life. Look, and we both are, business people, and you've been able to market, but you've been able to really touch on something that you hunt, you fish, you invest in yourself. You're not focusing just looking on followers. You're not focusing on the screen time. That takes away the opportunity of quality of life. A lot of people don't understand that. And for myself, the same way. I work out, I train, I've been training forever. Yep. Some people psychologically, once they get a replacement or everything else, they start giving up on life. I say, screw that. I mean, like yourself, my mom is 94. She's still independent. Yep. She cooks and cleans. I still have good genes, but at the end of the day, the way we're living right now is not the same type of food quality that is provided for the general public. Yep. For the exception of yourself, you live in Wyoming where you do hunt and fish. There's a lot of high process. There's fillers. There's different types of things that are in there. So I think that people need to understand that. But you were lifting as well, right? How much did you increase your exercise?
Well, here recently, my neck was flaring up after the jaw surgery. It's all connected in the injury, and we did some work on my neck. But before the stem cells and before the work that I had done, my hands were going numb from the nerves that were pinched in my lower cervical spine and the top of my thoracic spine. I had a couple of nerves that were pinched in by arthritic growth, calcification on the bones where the injuries were. And it's just going to happen. Arthritis is a reality of life. And it was pinching on those nerves. And I'd be driving a car or truck or or picking up my bow, and then this whole side of my arm would go numb, and I'd lose 2 or 3 of my fingers. I'd lose the feeling. I mean, just go numb like they were dead. And then when that happens, you also lose the strength in your arm. And what was scaring me was doing bench presses with 230 pounds of weight on them, and I'd get it halfway up and my arms would go numb, and I go, I got to look at my hand and talk to myself to press it up, and I'm thinking, I'm going to drop this on my throat and kill myself. I went in and got some therapies done on my neck, and it cleared up, and I'm back in the gym. I've increased my weight by 30% in the last month. I've increased my repetitions by almost double. And, I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. I have a daughter that's doing that. She's a competitive pro. But I'm just wanting to stay strong enough that I can get up out of a chair when I'm 95 years old, like my dad is. I want to be able to drive as long as I can. I want to be able to walk and hunt and hike and have fun as long as I can. And where that comes from is muscle strength.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing people are missing, right, is the quality of the sense of independence, physical independence. Yes. I truly believe that once you lose your independence, it starts killing your spirit. It starts killing your spirit because you lose your purpose, right? And people are then by that time, it's too late in the game to try to fix yourself because you're trying to fix yourself. You're like at stage, I would say stage 4. I'm not going to use cancer, but I'm saying you're at a red line stage, and you could have said to myself, I could have done this, but you didn't prioritize, and you're not living your life. And I think that this segment of LinkedIn Perspective is very important because you're sharing the facts of testimonial of how stem cells can bring a significant asset to the quality of life. It can enhance it. It can still prolong your longevity. It can give you the sense of independence. It's not a cure-all because everything happens, right? But things of this nature is very vital. You also touched on autism, right? Sorry.
Yeah,
so
that's fine. Go ahead. I was just going to say that you're on top of the biggest part of this, and that is priority and prevention. And if my grandmother said it, I'm sure yours did too. She goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And how smart that was, because how true it is. And I hear all the time people tell me that, wow, the stem cell infusion, the average stem cell infusion runs somewhere between $7,000 and $20,000. It depends on what kind of injections and what kind of technology and things they're using. It drives the cost up. But let's just talk about the bottom line. The bottom end is an IV, $7,000 to $10,000, and people go, "Oh my God, that's expensive." That same person will go spend $30,000 on a snowmobile to use 2 months a year to play in the snow, or they'll buy a motorcycle for $25,000. They'll buy a new Harley, and they'll use it 60 days a year and use it for 40,000 miles over the next 10 years. To me, it's about priority. I want to be able to ride my motorcycle when I'm 80 and 90. So I'm doing the stem cell stuff now so that I can enjoy that stuff for a longer period of time. So it's about priority and about, making sure that we're thinking about it the right way. How much is your health worth? Because once you lose it, you could have billions. You can't buy it back.
Well, like the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, right? He knew he was sick. He knew he did alternative stuff, but he chose a different route, right? And his last testimonial, right? I spent all this money on all these material things, and if I had to do it again, I would invest in my health. You touched on something that's very significant, right? And here's the thing. I don't buy material things like that. The average vehicle now is about $85,000. The minute a brand new vehicle with the tariffs, right? So people are looking, I need to buy this vehicle, is brand new, but guess what? The honeymoon syndrome goes away. So the maintenance, the loan, the vehicle depreciates. Then you have all these other hidden charges. Now you're trying to make ends meet to buy something. You made a bad business decision based on emotion. What people need to understand today is that don't make a bad business decision based on emotion. Assess it and then seek counsel or seek people that have testimonials like yourself and others that can say, hey, this can happen to you. But I'm sure that when you have conversations with people, they give you too many reasons and not enough results, correct?
Normally, yes. Yes, you're absolutely right.
So, and at this point, let's talk about, if we don't mind, talk about the autism aspect of it, that you
Yeah.
brought up. That I think is significant because my son, he's 24 years old. He has Asperger's syndrome autism. He's a high functioning autistic child. And, in the early 2000s, I could speak to that, they were giving a lot of injections to the moms, and that kind of affected it. People don't want to say it, but I'm a parent of a child that has autism. I see it. So if you can expand to that, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am too. My oldest daughter has been diagnosed with mild forms of autism and very familiar with Asperger's and have been around it most of my adult life in our family. Instead of just talking about autism, let's just talk about the brain.
Okay.
Because autism is part of the issues in the brain, as is PTSD, as is TBIs, traumatic brain injuries. So it can be an injury. It can be a genetic thing from birth. It can be something that was agitated or aggravated by toxins taken in. Pick one. There's, food preservatives, drugs, alcohol, whatever, bad air, bad water, bad pipes. So there's a lot of different things that can affect the brain. And what we have seen in the last 48 to 60 months, last 4 to 5 years, is that the stem cells utilized in things like nebulizers and IV therapy have a dynamic impact on the brain. Why? The brain is the most vascular organ of the body. And so when you put things into the blood supply, it always ends up in the brain, and in good or bad, right? And so when you put something good in, like fresh, wholesome, infant young stem cells that are vital, that, those are the cells that build the body. And you put them back into an aged body or a damaged body or ill body or injured body, you're going to see dynamic results. And so the IV therapy and the nebulizer therapy go straight to the brain, and we're seeing tremendous results. There's all kinds of articles about it available on the internet. I'm not going to try to convince anybody that, we're right and somebody else is wrong. That's not my job. But my job is to make sure that if you need help with this, get a hold of Hyram or go to our website, assistedglobalvitality.com. But go through Hyram, let him know that you need help. He can hook you up with me personally, and I'll get on the phone with you and be glad to have a conversation and help you figure out what are the best resources and assets. Should I do it here in the United States? Should I go to another country where the specific need of what you have is better handled? There's options. And then the other options are prices, because there are differences in prices from country to country, from clinic to clinic. It doesn't make them right or wrong or good or bad. It just, you need to be aware that there are differences.
So if you like the segment of LinkedIn Perspective, share it, like it, tag it. You can look up Matt Parr. He's on LinkedIn. He's on Facebook. You can look myself up as well. If you have any questions, just DM me. My other business partner, Dave Diaz, who's currently unavailable at this time. We work all together. We're all prior military people, and we also are public servants, and we have been learning and been mentored by Matt to give good knowledge, good experiences, and give you being very transparent as well. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people don't know, and I've run to a lot of veterans, right? They're popping pills and pains and everything else, but they're afraid to do this. What's the stigma for that, Matt? I know you've encountered that.
It's a knowledge and confidence issue. Some people think that just because that's what I always did, that's what we should always do. And I liken that to the old story of, hey, you got to cut the end off the ham before you cook it for Thanksgiving. And I go, why? And they go, well, because that's what my grandmother always did, so it's got to be important. And I go, well, go ask your grandma why she did that. And she goes, well, it's because to make it fit in my pan. Well, I have a bigger pan, so I don't need to cut the end off my ham. So it's that kind of mindset that leads people to make poorer decisions. Doesn't make them right or wrong, just might not be the best decision. And that's why we're here. Like Hyram said, we're here to supply you with good quality information that's been double checked, triple checked, been run through many filters. and give you the best quality information so you can make an informed decision of what's best for you, your health, your physical well-being, and your longevity.
So for me, I'm excited because I'm planning to do that myself this coming year for a number of reasons. And I share this with my wife for a number of reasons because my wife, she starts speaking, I'm getting old. I hate that. I hate when people say I'm getting old. I don't need to be reminded. I look at myself every day. You don't need to speed up the process. I think that changes, right? That changes the mindset. Honestly, it speeds it up. It's like, oh, I'm getting old. I can't do this. Oh, I'm getting this. Well, you know what? You're going to sit there and wait to die. Pick and choose your battles. So for me, I'm looking at it because you stated that it's happening here in the United States, in my home state, to be announced further down the road. But I feel that we had a testimonial from one of Dave's affiliations, and he's like 80 something years old, and he did that stuff. And he was like, he brought his girlfriend. He was like 70 or 60 something years old. And they were just giving some feedback, correct?
Yep. It's amazing that a guy in his 80s has a 60-something-year-old girlfriend. And I thought that was a beautiful testament to his attitude about life. Don't stop living. LIVIN, baby. Keep living. And, it's better to blow up than rust out. And so I always tell people, they go, well, so how long are you going to do that? Like people say to me all the time, well, look at me. They go, you're getting old, Matt. I go, old's a state of mind, age is a number, and it's your attitude and gratitude that drives you. And so stay happy, stay grateful, connect with the right kind of people, get good quality information, make the best decisions you can. And, God bless. To me, life is about doing all you can do because all you can do is enough, but do all you can do. Don't just do part of it. And, turn off the TV and get outside. Hyram and I are planning a trip for him to come to Wyoming. We're going to take him up in the mountains and show him what fresh air feels like, because I know it's hard to find in big cities, but it's still out there. You just got to go get it.
I think the biggest thing to your point is like I am at this, the third part of my life, the last quarter of my life, I could say. I'm right there with you, right? I see the beauty of what we have here in the United States in nature. People don't understand that kind of stimulates and revitalizes, rejuvenates your purpose in life. You see the beauty of everything else, and you're too busy looking at the screen all day saying, well, I could do this, or I'm looking on social media and your face planted on that phone. If you notice, people are just today, even when I go to the gym, you used to go to the gym and you just work out. I would see people, they got all day to mess around with the phone and they're doing this. They're doing this, they're doing selfies. And I'm going like, you're not working out.
Yeah.
So that, to your point, I'm looking forward to that. As I say, I'm planning to be a product of the product, give a testimonial, not only for myself, but for all the veterans, combat veterans, right? Disabled veterans that, even though they're disabled, they can have an opportunity to quality of life. We're working to, work with people and give them a price point. But the other thing is that it's real transparency, right?
Well,
Testimonial.
That, and you got to remember that these decisions aren't made when you're in your 70s. These decisions need to be made when you're in your 20s and 30s, because it's the prevention that leads to enjoying your 70s and 80s. And if you wait until you're 60 to start thinking right, it's too late. And so my encouragement to the younger generation, and I have two daughters that are in that generation, and both of them eat right, both of them exercise. I was in fitness and health for 30 years and they grew up in that, and they're now 30 something, and they're always talking about things they're doing to make their life better, bigger, better, faster, more fun, longer longevity, even just exercising. If you do it wrong, you're going to do it long. And if you do it right, you can still be exercising when you're approaching your 70s like us. So it's a choice. And I would encourage anybody who's hearing us right now is make good choices, because it's the good choices that lead to the best results.
So what I'm going to say before we close is a couple of things. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this segment of LinkedIn Perspective, share it, like it, tag it, make your comments known. If you're interested in this particular segment, we can come back again and give you a follow-up with Matt Matt is like my older brother. I trust him with
Had to
my
say
life.
older, huh?
Older brother, I have to say, senior brother, but at the end, I could do that as it's because his family. But here's the thing: that my circle of influence has started with Matt and quite a few people 15 years ago. It continues today, right? And so he's a what you call a ride or die. Pick up the phone. What's going on? So not all relationships are good. Not all money is good money, but your health is the most important thing. You know. And so with that, Matt, I'll let you close it out and go ahead.
I don't have much more to say other than we're having great experiences with people. We're helping people. If we can help you in any way, like Hyram said, get a hold of them. Let's get together. We're not doing this because we need something to do. We're doing this because we believe in what the outcome has been. It's worked for me. It's worked for everybody that works with us and for us. And anybody that you would talk to in our team has had personal, valuable stem cell experience, or they don't work here. And it's because we're not talking about theory. We're not talking about book learning. We're talking about actual practical application. And if we can help you in any way, let us know. That's why we're here.
So, Matt, before we close out, you could put down on the link in the chat if people want to be interested in looking on that, or they can reach out to you. What do you think is the best approach on this?
It would probably be easier for them just to reach out and tag you, and then we can connect through there. But anybody's welcome to go to our website also. Like I said, we're here to help. And all you got to do is reach out. Click the button, say, hey, I want to talk to somebody. It's not going to cost you anything. You don't have to make any commitments. We're here to make sure you have the good quality information so that you can make an informed decision.
Well, thanks a lot, Matt. So, thank you for being on here for today. This segment of LinkedIn Perspective 150 is pretty much short to the point. We're not going to drag it on and then, create another narrative. Everything is very cut and dry. And I say that in a nice way because, you're speaking to someone that has gone through that process and myself. So if you like the segment of LinkedIn Perspective, share it, tag it, like it, reach out to myself. I'm on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to Matt and my other friend, Dave Diaz. So Simplify, always beside you. Have a great Friday. Thank you. Stand by, Matt. Have a great day, everyone.